Hello there, what's going on everybody? Today we're going to be talking about Armada. As you know, at Adepticon they're going to announce a new expansion for Star Wars Armada. Fantasy Flight has said this in their last article, so we pretty much have it from the horse's mouth that a new expansion is coming, that it will be announced at Adepticon at Thursday's panel, so stay tuned for that. That's going to be very, very exciting. So I wanted to kind of do like a little preview, talk about what it might be, what you guys think, what I think. We're going to go through all of that. I am extending the giveaway till tomorrow, so there is still time to get your entries in on that. All you have to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment. Tomorrow, I will announce the winner for the $25 Amazon gift card, so just make sure you're a subscriber and leave a comment, and we'll do that tomorrow. So let's go ahead and talk about Adepticon there. So basically, there's two kind of interesting points. FFG has said that they were going to announce a new Armada expansion on Thursday's panel, but also there was also reportedly an interview with FFG in Asmodee, France, and they said that there was an Armada announcement coming on May the 5th or thereabouts. Now, I'm not sure how reliable that information is, but it could mean that there's more than one thing coming, or it could have been overlap for the same thing. But either way, somewhere around May the 4th is a good time to announce new stuff anyway, because that is Star Wars Day, and so that certainly sounds reasonable. But I don't really expect there to be too many new announcements before we actually get our Episode 9 trailer, which again will be in April, and then we'll actually have our first look at a lot of the newer things that are going to be coming, like The Mandalorian, Episode 9, all of that stuff. And a lot of those things could have implications for Armada. I actually especially think that Episode 9 has great potential to have implications with Armada, because if you've seen any of my predictions, I do expect a lot of ship battles in Episode 9. Like a huge amount of capital ships. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into some of the predictions for what we think they're going to announce this week at Adepticon, which is also going to be the same time as Armada Worlds, which is also very interesting, and we're going to be taking a look at that and what happens as a result of Worlds. So I ran a poll on YouTube to see how many people think different things are going to be coming for Armada, and 464 votes. We actually got an awful lot, and by and large, most of you think a whole new wave is going to be announced, which is interesting. 63% say a whole new wave, 8% think Starhawk, 12% a dual faction ship, 9% a cardboard only box, and 9% essentials kit, so a new starter. So kind of going to run through all of these. Let's start at the bottom and work our way up. An essentials kit is something a lot of people think that the game needs, a cheaper starter. An essentials kit would be basically a starter without the ships for a much smaller price, like a $20 kit to get you your damage deck, your dice, your rules, your initial objective cards, all of that sort of thing. An essentials kit would be great. Again, maybe that's not exciting enough to announce at Adepticon, but it would be good for the long-term health of the game, because that also allows for multiple factions, for you not to have the problem that X-Wing has right now, where if somebody wanted to play Clone Wars, they still have to go buy an X-Wing and 2 TIE Fighters in the core set to get that core set, and to get their damage deck and the rules and the maneuver templates and all those things that you need to play the game. So an Essentials kit, especially considering Armada's incredible price for their starter, a lot of people don't want to spend $100, and get a victory and then 2 small ships along with all their core stuff. Especially considering you can usually find victories have been on sale for very, very, very cheap prices. Plus, you're getting 2 very small ships. But you can get a victory and a Nebulon and a CR90 probably for less than $30 if you get them at the right times. So people don't want to spend $100 for that just to get the starter. And then, to get their dice and their damage deck and their objective cards and their movement tool and all, the things you need to start playing the game. And understandably so, as an Essentials kit would go a long way towards promoting long-term health, as well as possibly be a stepping stone towards Clone Wars. Now, there was other things that I wanted to put on this list, but on the YouTube things, we can only put so many options in your 5. You can only do 5 options for a poll. So a cardboard-only box would basically be like a Corellian Conflict version 2, something like that. They've already done one of those, so maybe some people don't think that will happen again. They might not have enough hype behind it as well. A dual faction ship would probably be something like the Dreadnought from the Katana fleet from Heir to the Empire. We also saw that basic design of the ship reintroduced in Star Wars Rebels as an Imperial supply ship. However, it's probably not going to be a dual faction if they go with the canon version. And so that one actually has a lot of, well, what would they do? In theory, it could be any dual faction ship, something that both sides could use. That would kind of be nice, especially after, Empire's just getting, one ship and Rebels get nothing this year. Starhawk at 8%. This is, I think my best option for a Rebel counter to the Super Star Destroyer, the most likely option. Something a lot of people definitely want to see, at least what it looks like, because we have a verbal description of what the Starhawk looks like, and that it has a hatchet-shaped front head, and that it was made from, recovered in extra bits of old Imperial ships and and Star Destroyers. And so, there's been a lot of speculation as to what the Starhawk looks like. This was actually my pick, was the Starhawk. That's the one I would like to see, especially if they're going to do just like one faction at a time expansions. And then the overwhelming majority chose a whole new wave. And a whole new wave, the reason I didn't go with that one, even though that would be great, is just because they said an expansion. So they said, now granted, it all depends on how you interpret the term expansion. Because expansion could be a whole wave, like this, but a lot of it, like I tend to think of the word expansion as expansion pack, like a singular noun, whereas expansion could be more of a plural term or more of a wider terminology. And of course they could have, maybe I'm just reading too far into it. Expansion in this case, might have just been incorrect, and maybe it was supposed to say expansions or whatever, because FFG has made errors on articles before, so it might have just been left deliberately vague to throw people off, and maybe I'm falling directly into the trap. But a whole new wave would be great, especially anything that involves the Rebels getting something, because the Rebels are, kind of stinking right now, not getting anything new for about a year. So, a whole new wave is definitely very possible. There's a lot of ships we still need, and that people definitely want. A lot from Legends, a lot from canon even, like the Dornian gunship. And there was a lot of other things that I wanted to put on here. A Rebel huge ship, which I thought was a little unlikely. It didn't make the cut for getting in here. But the Viscount, or Viscount. I like to say Viscount. But, some people have said the MC-85. I don't see that happening because that's sequel trilogy timeline stuff, and I just don't see them doing that. But yes, a Rebel huge ship would be cool. I don't know if they'll do that. I don't know how much leeway and latitude they have to make things from Legends. I know that they can, but I think it's a different kind of approval process and a different type of priority. So I just don't know if that's something that we'll see. Although that would be cool. I would have no problem with that. I want more huge ships in the game, so that would be very, very exciting. But at the same time, I think there's other ships maybe we need more. I would really like to see the Dornian gunship. I'd really like to see the Starhawk. I'd like to see a lot of stuff for the Empire too, like a Venator for the Empire. Which also brings me to Clone Wars. I didn't put Clone Wars on here only because I think it may be a little premature. The reason I say that is they still haven't announced Clone Wars for Legion yet, which, officially, like they talked about at Gen Con. So now here we are, 6 months later, and they still haven't, unveiled, Clone Wars for Legion. And so I'm like, they didn't even say Clone Wars was even a possibility, or they didn't even say it was a thing for Armada at that point. So maybe they will come out and say, oh, and by the way, we're thinking of doing Clone Wars for Armada, and that would be huge, but that's not really a new expansion. That's just like more like a hint of future planning. I'm like, oh, and that would be the equivalent of them saying, oh yeah, this game isn't dead. We're gonna do some more with it someday. And you really don't have if you don't have a picture at least of some type of expansion, then it's not really an expansion. It's more of an idea. it is basically the same thing as when they said Clone Wars was going to be coming to X-Wing and Legion. At least with X-Wing, they had some examples, like we're going to do this ship and this ship. For Legion, it was just Clone Wars is coming to Legion. We don't know anything more about it than that. And so I do think that they will announce Clone Wars, but I think that'll be for Legion and not for Armada. Although, if you are going to be at this panel, you've got to ask them about Clone Wars and Armada. What I think will happen is if they announce something that's not Clone Wars, people will be like, oh, you announced this. So I'll say Starhawk, since that was my hope. People will probably ask about the Starhawk when they go up to ask questions, because they said they would open it up for Q&A. Don't get distracted by what they announce you. Remember the things that we want to ask about. What's the status of the SSD? Where's the Clone Wars? Are you guys deliberately slowing down production on Armada? Is that going to be something that happens again, in the future? Is that a trend, or is this only temporary? Things like that. I actually think it would be great if FFG was more transparent about the pacing of their releases. This would be like another good question. If they're planning on making a change to the pace, could they let us know so that people don't panic? One good example is Armada's dramatic slowdown over the past year. But also another one is Legion. Legion is going at a very, very fast pace. They have like 2 expansions every single month since launch. Happy birthday, Legion, by the way. But someday, if they ever plan on slowing that down, God forbid 1 month goes by and there's no Legion expansion, people are going to be like, well, Legion is dead. And then Armada players will be laughing like, oh, tell me about your sorrow. So it would be very helpful if they could communicate like an intentional pacing change. Granted, I don't know if they will do that, because that's, there's all kinds of reasons why they may not want to do that, for competitors and fear of manufacturing disruptions and etc. So I don't expect that will happen, but it'd be nice for them to let us know, at least in some capacity, when it's planned. But then, of course, then people will say, oh, well, then this happened, so that means it wasn't planned, so that means there's something going on. So by being as vague as possible, it kind of protects them. So I don't think that's something that they will say. But very exciting that we are actually only days away from actually getting a new Armada announcement. And so a lot of people are like, where are you hearing this information? It came from FFG on their own articles. They have said they are announcing a new expansion on Thursday at their panel. So I will definitely be covering that. So stay tuned look for more Armada news on Thursday, hopefully. So that'll be cool. And I don't know if we'll get just a vague announcement. I can't be at this panel. I wish I could be at this panel, but we don't know exactly what kind of announcement we're going to get Thursday. There'll probably be some screenshots, some blurry pictures. We'll try to get that covered right away. The official article may not go up on fantasyflight.com that same day. It may wait till Friday, so we'll be covering the announcement and also be covering the official article whenever that happens, because they do like to sometimes wait a few days after to have their official article. The same thing happened at Gen Con with the Super Star Destroyer. It was announced at the in-flight brief, and then I think the next day or the day after that, the article finally went up. So then you get more high-res images and slightly more information that way as well. Looks very exciting. So that's all I've got for you today. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.